Hey everyone, I'm Jean Chatsky. Thanks so much for joining me today on Her Money, where we talk about how personal finance and money touches everything in our lives. So, the last time we did a happiness check in, we were just beginning the new year. We were starting out fresh, taking the time to make goals, but not necessarily resolutions, because we have learned that those don't typically work out. And hopefully, we've been able to stick with at least some of them. Since July 1st is the official midway point for 2024, we thought it was a really nice time to do another check-in, a mid-year happiness check, if you will. This is just a really good time to look at what you wanted to accomplish this year financially and otherwise, how you're doing when it comes to meeting those goals. And if one of your goals was to be more present, more happy overall, I am right there with you. Because I know it's not just me thinking that things feel pretty heavy right now. According to the 2024 World Happiness Survey, we're pretty unhappy as a country this year. For the first time since they started taking this survey, the United States has dropped out of the 20 happiest countries. We came in at number 23, sandwiched between the United Arab Emirates on one side and Germany on the other. And although I know we can all point to plenty of external reasons for us to be unhappy, many of them financial, sky high costs at the grocery store, mortgage rates hovering around 7%, credit card debt off the charts, I am all about controlling those things that we can control. And that includes prioritizing our well being. We want to shake the summertime sadness, which is why I am so thrilled to welcome Stephanie Harrison to the show. She is the founder and creator of The New Happy, which is a philosophy and movement that has reached millions of people around the world. She has a master's degree in positive psychology from my alma mater, the University of Pennsylvania, and her new book, New Happy, Getting Happiness Right in a World That's Got It Wrong, is based on her 10-year journey diving deep into the world of positive psychology. So if you're feeling more bummed out than usual this year, or if the world has simply got you down, she is here to help us get back on track. Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you.
Very nice to meet you. The title of your book says your philosophy is all about the new happy. What was so wrong with the old happy, and what's the difference?
It's a really great question. The old happy is my term for the societal definitions of happiness that we have been taught ever since we were little. These messages that come from our culture that tell us that you're not good enough as you are, that you have to achieve more and more, that you have to do everything by yourself. These are these ideas that seep into our consciousness and end up affecting us and the things that we do to pursue happiness. And unfortunately, according to my research, they don't work at all. They make us miserable.
Do they make us miserable because our standards are too high?
They make us miserable because they set forth an expectation that's really unrealistic. So I would say too high, but also impossibly high, because we grow up believing that if we need to be happy, we need to be perfect. And of course, that's impossible. And we have to be constantly achieving. We can never take time to rest or slow down or honor our humanity, and that we can pursue this hyper-independent state that never relies on another person. And these things are utterly unrealistic in reality. And so that pursuit of unrealistic expectations ends up really hurting us.
So how is the new happy different?
I argue that the real path to happiness is to discover who you are and then use who you are to help other people. Because when you do that, not only do you get to grow as a person and become and fulfill all of your potential, but you also get to offer it up to others and be of service in order to make the world a better place. And by doing that, you don't just ensure your happiness, but you end up creating happiness for other people at the same time.
It sounds like some of the research that we've heard from guests in the past, like Arthur Brooks and Mike Norton, who have said, you know, you want to be happy, do something for other people, not necessarily something for yourself. But can you give me an example? I know that there are lots of them in the book, but of someone who was able to morph from the old happy to the new happy and how that worked out for them?
Yeah, I mean, I can share maybe my personal example, which was somebody who was very affected by old happy and who lived in that way, believing that it would make me happy. I tried to chase jobs and status and achievement and perfection and all of these things, thinking that it would bring me true happiness. And yet I found myself deeply miserable. And it wasn't until I discovered that the best way to live my life was in service to others that I was able to tap into a form of joy and contentment and purpose that I had never previously had access to. And what was fascinating was watching that play out in my own personal life while then delving into the research and seeing all of the evidence that supported it and almost being able to test those ideas in my own life and apply them in that way. And I suppose I've become so transformed by it that I want other people to have access to those experiences as well.
On the list of things that you were chasing, I noted the absence of money. So we are a money show. And you say that one of the lies that we're told is that happiness comes from making more and more money. That is not true. There's research on this that is just a little bit mixed, right?
Yeah.
There is the old Daniel Kahneman study that points to $75,000, which we'd have to adjust for inflation at this point, but $75,000 as the amount of money that you need to live happy in the form of an income. But Matthew Killingsworth, who is a Penn professor, has recently published additional work saying, well, wait a minute, that is not true. That with more money does come more happiness. So, in terms of the new happy, what do you believe?
I think that in our world, money is required to be able to fulfill your needs. And so everybody needs money to be able to afford to navigate the world around them, to show up for their families, to protect themselves, to have safe environments, to pursue their hobbies and their interests. So the pursuit of money in the form of the desire to create those experiences and goals for yourself is, of course, a great thing and a huge contributing factor to well-being. My issue lies with the fact that it feels like there's never a ceiling of what's enough for so many people. And that pursuit of more and more that we see playing out with millionaires and billionaires who are continuing to pursue and acquire more and more resources that they do not need, that could be used to help other people or to make a difference in the world, that's held up almost as a moral standard, as something that epitomizes success and achievement and self-actualization, when in fact it doesn't lead to those proportionate increases in happiness that we think it might from the outside. So, of course, we all have to have our needs met and to be able to create these experiences of well-being, but I want to challenge the idea that more and more is the answer for us, and that should be what we're striving for.
In this internet, Instagram, TikTok world where people are unboxing things and showing us their latest drops, how do you contextualize that? How do you, as an individual, come around to what's enough for you?
I personally have landed on this idea that the pursuit of enough for me is not devoting myself to materialism or overconsumption. And so, for example, I only buy new clothes like once a year, and I try and buy vintage where I can or secondhand. I try to spend my money on experiences or on contributing to the world. And so most of the money that I have is poured into the New Happy, my business, in order to reach more people and to help people and to be able to fulfill that. And so I find that to be a very fulfilling use of resources and money that helps me with my well-being and hopefully helps other people as well. I think that being really mindful of your media consumption is really important as well, because when you're as you're saying, when you're engaging with all that content, you see all these people with their fabulous things, and it creates a desire within you that isn't necessarily your own. It's simply wanting to have something that seems to bring happiness, or have something that everybody else has, or have something that's really visually appealing. And so I personally don't ever engage with content like that. I just curate my feed so that it's not something that I see.
Was that a hard shift to make for you? I mean, for people who spend hours and hours a day on their screens,
Yeah.
that can feel like a big change.
Yeah, I think it wasn't a hard shift because I pretty much noticed the impact instantaneously, the positive impact of not being surrounded by those types of messages, and instead trying to cultivate a media environment that's uplifting and aligned with my values. And so as soon as I saw that, hey, that desire that seemed so strong in me was instigated by an external force. It wasn't organically brought about within me. It came from the outside. And as soon as I eliminated the stimuli, it disappeared. It was very freeing, actually, I would say.
Have you seen that work for other people as well?
Yeah, we did this thing with the New Happy community. Every year during the spring, I do a social media spring cleaning challenge for people, which is just a free event which everyone can join into if they want to. And I invite people to essentially spring clean their social media feeds. And the metaphor I give them is your social media accounts are like a house, and you get to decide who enters your house. And if there are people who have overstayed their welcome, you can ask them to leave. That's within your right. And when you decide that there's an account or an influencer or a theme that's no longer serving you, you can make the choice to disengage from that and to consider what more uplifting experiences and influences you want to follow. And I've gotten so much great feedback from people about how much it's cultivated a better experience with using those feeds that are such a part of our lives now.
Part of the issue, I think, with social media is that it feels a little bit like a zero-sum game. This notion of you can only win if I lose, and vice versa. We recently had Naomi Kahn on the show. She talks about how this winner-take-all economy in the U.S. is holding women back because we are not wired to compete in this way. Your word for this is domination. Why is it wrong?
It's wrong because it separates us from our true selves, which is that of connectedness and of cooperation and kindness. And I think, of course, we have an instinct in us that allows us to compete and to be aggressive and to view one another as competition. But we also have an instinct within us that is to nurture and to collaborate and to connect. And we have cultivated environments that bring out the former and suppress the latter, or even penalize the latter in the case of women in the workplace so often. And to me, the opportunity is to help people who have engaged with domination and those forces that impact them, is to see the toll that it takes on them. Because we know from extensive research that treating people as inferior to you, being angry at the ways in which you are experiencing perceived setbacks or challenges because of your status in life, like, there are so many harms that come from being either subjected to domination or being the aggressor of domination. And so the more that we can start to show people that it's only a benefit for you to be kind and supportive and encouraging and collaborative, then we can start to move towards building systems that hopefully not only support that, but elevate that instinct within us and allow it to bloom.
You have had quite a journey yourself. Actually, I should not use that word. I really should not use that word. There was a whole story in the New York Times just this week about journey and how everybody is calling everything a journey. And my sister-in-law, Allie, wants to get T-shirts printed that say F you and your journey, because I think they would be a huge
Amazing.
bestseller. Yes, she should totally do that. But you've been on, look, you've had some ups and some downs. And I know that soon after you got your degree in positive psychology, you ended up becoming a full-time caregiver for your partner, Alex. I know that many of the listeners of this show, many of the women are caught between raising their kids, being caregivers for their parents. It can take an enormous toll. And yet, you said that when you were going through this, you felt happy compared to your former self before you discovered the new happy. You felt like you had the tools to deal with it. I want to ask you what you were able to access. And I'm asking it for incredibly personal reasons right now that I hope will help other people who are listening. But my mom's been in the hospital for the last month and a half. I haven't. Oh, thank you so much. We think she's on the mend, but I never felt like a caregiver, really. My mom cared for my father when he was ill. She really shielded all of us children. I woke up one morning and this was here. And I want to know, cuz I got to say I'm not happy.
I
How did you
understand.
find that?
It's so difficult. And I am going to be thinking about your mom and all
Oh,
of you.
thank you.
It's so difficult to watch somebody you love suffer. It's so hard, especially when you don't know what's going to happen and dealing with the uncertainty and the fact that it's so out of your control. Like, it's absolutely just so incredibly challenging. And as you said, it's the reality for so many millions of people around the world. I think what allowed me in those moments, years, because Alex was and has been sick for many years at this point, is recognizing that if real happiness is about being who I am and then helping other people, then I had an opportunity to do that in those moments. And I had the opportunity to say, I can use this experience to cultivate greater love within me and then share it with him because he's the one who needs it right now. He really needs my love, and that comes in the form of things that maybe I wish I didn't have to do, things that are hard and taxing and draining, and yet at the same time give my life purpose and meaning because I know that I am needed here and that every day I wake up and I matter to somebody. And it was that perspective that helped me to experience moments of joy amidst the pain, to find the strength to keep going, especially when it felt really difficult, to feel sometimes almost a transcendent sense of purpose. And it was also a bit like everything else melts away when somebody you love is having such a hard time. You see what matters most in life. And all of a sudden it became so clear to me that my relationship with this person was what mattered most. And I could show up for it and I could find a way to make it meaningful, or I could suffer through it. And I did for a while. Like I struggled with all the things caregivers struggled with. And eventually I was able to make this shift of realizing that this is my opportunity that life has given me to be of service to somebody, and I can try and experience it in a way that brings me joy or brings me a sense of satisfaction. And it's definitely not easy, and took me a while to come to that point, as well as being willing to receive help from other people along the way and their support. That's also what made it possible.
Thank you for sharing all of that. I'm gonna replay this and I'm gonna really hold on to it. Okay, let's talk about some of these solutions. One of the lies that you say makes up the old happy is when you say you'll be happy when you tie your happiness to extrinsic goals rather than intrinsic goals. How do you flip the switch on that?
Think that the first step is to take almost an audit of the goals that you're pursuing. So you might not think of what you're doing every day as pursuing goals, but everything that we're doing all of the time is, in fact, some sort of goal-oriented activity. So being a caregiver, that's a goal-oriented activity. Showing up to work every day, being a good mom, trying to save money for retirement, those are all goals that you're pursuing. And you probably have maybe between 10 and 20. I think that some studies have found that these personal projects, that tends to be the average that people net out at. So writing them down as you think about what you do every day. And then just going through and giving a little star on the ones that you chose for yourself, the ones that you don't feel pressured to do, the ones that you don't think, oh, I'll be happy when I get there. And I have a little mental trick I use myself here, which is that if I was not allowed to tell anybody that I achieved that goal, would I still do it? And if the answer is no, then I know that it's probably not something that's coming from within and is intrinsically aligned.
Oh, that is fascinating. I like that. That's a very, very good trick. What are some other examples of intrinsic goals that will make us happier?
So they tend to be aligned to your true self and the needs, the psychological needs of that self. So that would include safety. So again, tying it back a little bit to the money conversation of earlier, being able to provide for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones, that would be an intrinsic goal. Community, giving back to your neighborhood or helping to raise money for a school that your kid is at. That would be one example there. Relationships, investing in being there for a friend who's going through a hard time. Passions and interests, things that you're just excited about. Maybe it's gardening or reading a specific type of book and being in a book club. And then growth, the internal desire that you have to grow as a person and the ways that that might manifest, which are different for all of us, but they tend to be motivated by emotions like curiosity and passion and excitement.
Well, one of the places we're not particularly satisfied or happy, unfortunately, is at work. It's particularly true of Gen Z workers. Only 44% of workers under 30 are satisfied, very satisfied with their jobs. 67% of workers over 65 say that they're satisfied, which is a huge difference. In chapter 15, you talk about discovering your gifts and finding a job where you can use them. That is a tall order.
It is, if you think that the job has to be the perfect fit for your gifts. I think that it's usually more helpful to think about a place where one of your gifts might be needed or a few of them can come together. And so, for example, let's say that you love to do public speaking. There are so many jobs that require public speaking. You could use it in the form of sales. You could become a content creator. You could become a corporate trainer or a customer success person with a tech company. There are so many different roles where that gives you the chance to exercise those gifts. And then from there, you can start to build out and see, okay, what else can I do here? What other gifts can I use? How can I find ways to craft my existing job to be a better fit?
This is, as I said at the top of the show, our mid-year happiness check-in. Listeners may be looking at the goals that they set for themselves at the beginning of the year and trying to decide how to prioritize them. So let's say I have 3 goals and maybe I haven't come very far toward any of them. Let's just say my goals were to get a promotion, run a marathon, and spend more time with friends. Running a marathon actually is one of my goals for this year, but leave that to the side. How do you decide when you're not making progress towards your goals after a chunk of time, what to do about them?
I think in this case, I would say you might be trying to spread yourself too thin. 3 goals is a lot. It's a lot to incorporate changes in your life in that way. So maybe thinking about what you could prioritize if there's one that you'd like to tackle first. And then I'm a big fan of trying to multiply them. So if you want to spend more time with friends and run a marathon, do you have another friend who wants to run a marathon and who would train with you? Is there a way to combine those together? Or perhaps you can join a running club and make new friends in that way. Getting creative about whether there's a blending option in here and thinking about how your life could be, your goals could be a little bit more flexible in that way can sometimes yield really great results.
I am just going to put it out there because you gave me a perfect opening to do this. When I moved from New York to Philadelphia, I lost my running partners, and I have yet to find new running partners. I may have found one woman at my gym, but we're still dating. We're not sure that this is a love match. But if you live in Center City, Philadelphia, and you don't run any faster than a 10-minute mile and you want to run with me in the morning, because I can't run at 6 o'clock at night, please let me know. Just send me an email.
I wish I could be your running buddy because I definitely don't run faster than 10 minutes a mile, and I only like to run in the morning too. Unfortunately, I'm in California, but I hope you find somebody.
Thank you. Thank you. Stephanie, just one other question. As we head into our happier second halves of the year, you say that there are three daily shifts that really have the power to make you and all the people around you happier every single day. How can I help? Who helped me? And where are others helping? Why these three things, and how do you incorporate them?
These help you to see that you're connected to other people and that the greatest source of well-being is through giving and receiving. It is almost like attuning yourself to our interconnectedness and to all of the opportunities that we have to contribute to one another's well-being. And the way to put those into practice is to start by, as you go about your day, looking for opportunities to help. And they don't have to be big at all. It can just be an act of kindness to a colleague, or calling a friend who's going through a hard time, or sending a card to somebody who might need a little boost. Those little moments where you can make a difference. It's going to help you and it will help them. The second is to look at how other people are helping you. We take this so for granted. It's so easy to neglect the ways that other people are showing up for us, and we have to really attend to those and notice, wow, look at how supportive that person was, or that kind comment my boss gave me at work. And the more that we do that, the more we notice how much we are receiving. And then the third is to pay attention to people who are doing good in the world, because as you mentioned, everything can feel so heavy and difficult and painful right now, but there are so many people out there who are devoting themselves to doing good and to helping others. And we have to pay attention to it because it gives us the evidence that we are a part of that group of people trying to do good, and that together we can make a difference in the world.
Stephanie Harrison, you have a new fan in me. How do we connect with the New Happy community?
You can find us at thenewhappy.com.
Great. Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. So grateful for you.